I want to read you a column that's been circulating over the internet the last few days. It's from Aaron W. Hughley from the Bowling Green Daily News. Now, he wrote this a couple of weeks after the election, after Donald Trump regained power. Trump's win shows us who we really are. And quite honestly, it crystallizes everything I feel about Donald Trump, America, and its people, particularly the MAGA, and particularly MAGA supporters on my page, especially one who decides to think that everything's going to be just fine under Trump, knowing full well that he sold his soul to the devil. I'd like to congratulate Donald J. Trump on his historic win a couple of weeks ago. Those of you who read some of my previous columns may find that a little surprising. By means and sincerity, Trump's triumph over Kamala Harris has given us a window into the soul of America that probably would have remained hidden had the election gone a different way. In a very real and unambiguous manner, Trump has laid bare who we truly are. His campaign and the responses to it have helped to clarify what many Americans currently value and how their perspective has evolved over the last couple of generations. Sincerely, we owe him a great debt of gratitude for making it perfectly transparent what is and what is not important to most Americans these days. Before November 5th, 2024, for example, many of us were under the impression that human kindness was a quality that defined our society. Indeed, the idea that we should deeply care about the plight of our neighbors was something many of us thought was synonymous with being an American. But thanks to Donald Trump, we now know that most of us are selfish, self-centered, and more concerned with our own well-being than those around us. And it's not just individually. Countries that have looked to the United States since the end of World War II can no longer count on us being there when threatened by empire-building murderous tyrants, i.e. Kim Jong-un, and especially Vladimir Putin. It is also absurdly clear that character doesn't matter anymore. Certainly not in the way that most of us thought it did once upon a time. My parents and grandparents instilled me with the importance of always telling the truth and living with integrity. Evidently, those old-fashioned notions are grossly off step with what most Americans believe now. Growing up, I remember getting into trouble for making fun of those who were less fortunate or calling people unflattering names based on personal characteristics that I have no control over. If my mother caught me laughing at someone with a disability, I would not have been able to sit down for a couple of days. Perhaps if Trump had been around when I was younger, he could have let my mother know that it was okay to denigrate and disparage those who are different. In a similar vein, Trump should also be commended for reminding us that racism, xenophobia, and misogyny are alive and well in many households in this country, and that Martin Luther King's dream that one day we will be judged primarily by the content of character remains an elusive aspiration. Like many Americans, prior to Trump's win, I honestly believed that most Americans weren't a fan of vulgarity, profanity, and disgusting language. But Trump has set the record straight on that. Apparently, a lot of Christians are completely fine with all kinds of boorish behavior. In my 8th grade social studies class, Mrs. Sparks taught us Americans are equal before the law. You probably heard that rumor too. But as Trump demonstrated conclusively, some Americans can break the law repeatedly committing crimes that would land most of us behind bars and suffer no consequences. And furthermore, having a criminal record is now something many Americans celebrate and even cheer. Kudos to Trump. Which brings us to those infamous 10 Commandments we've been hearing about for most of our lives, those of us who are Christian. In Sunday school, I was told it was a big deal to violate any of them. As Trump has shown, however, most Americans don't really care about God's law. The fact that some of them want them all plastered everywhere we go, notwithstanding. Finally, prior to the election, I bet many readers saw America as a shining city on the hill, as Ronald Reagan so eloquently put it a few years ago. Now we know that's not the case. We are just as susceptible to being seduced by a corrupt, power-hungry narcissist, wannabe dictator as any other third world country. And again, congratulations to Trump for exposing the cold, hard truth about who we are. There's no American exceptionalism. We're not immune from evil, anti-democratic authoritarian leaders with fascist tendencies. So let's stop pretending that we're something that we're not. Thank you, Mr. Hughley, for your comments on this. I'm going to stop pretending because, quite honestly, despite the fact that so many people out there are angry at what Donald Trump is proposing to do when it comes to raising gas prices on nations that we get oil from, raising prices to everything that on things that are imported into our country, on the caveat that they can stop drugs and illegals from coming here. Donald Trump is holding this country and its people hostage, and I would honestly have some kind of sympathy if it wasn't for the fact that a good portion of the people in this country voted for this. You wanted this nightmare, and now you're going to get what you deserve. My only sympathy is that millions of people in this country didn't want this and are going to suffer because of your stupidity, because of your racism, because of your misogyny. However you want to claim it, you put us in hell. The only satisfaction I'm getting is that you're going to suffer with us. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.